Welcome to another AMA with Kadena Ecosystem. In this episode, we will be speaking with the team from Tellor. This conversation was recorded on April 28, 2023, live on Twitter Spaces. The views and expressions in this AMA do not represent the views of Kadena Ecosystem directly and are not to be considered as financial advice. Please make sure to do your own research on the projects presented. Also make sure to follow and subscribe to our account to be alerted of new uploads. Now let's get started. Enjoy. Welcome everybody to another AMA with Kadena Ecosystem. Today we have the good folks from Tellor. They are one of the newest Kadena grantee members and are building some really awesome tools that everyone's going to be able to take advantage of and use for their own purposes and their own dApps and whatever their needs may be. So I want to welcome you guys to the AMA. Thanks for coming back.
Yeah, no, thanks for having us.
All right, so why don't we just start with a quick little introduction about yourself and what Tellor is all about.
Sure. So my name's Nick. I'm the CTO and one of the founders here at Tellor. I think Brenda and Mike are on as well. They're the other founders. But yeah, so we've been at Tellor now for a while. So I kind of left my job in 2017. I was working as a regulator here in the US, and we left to do derivatives on a blockchain. And when we were doing derivatives, if you know, that's like futures and options contracts, which are, you know, common things here in DeFi now. But basically, when you're doing a derivatives contract, you can think of it simply as like you're betting on the price of something. So, you know, if we're on Kadena, we could lock some money into a smart contract, and you get the money if the price of Bitcoin goes up. I get the money if the price of Bitcoin goes down. The problem that we quickly ran into when we were creating this originally on Ethereum was, how do you know what the price of Bitcoin is? So the blockchain, kind of any blockchain system, there are all these closed ecosystems. So you can't go say, hey, you can't read an API from Coinbase or Binance. You need somebody to actually input this. And this is what's known as the Oracle problem. How do you actually know and validate any outside information about the real world or other chains? And you know, so this kind of put a halt on us building a derivatives platform, because we were, well, you know, we're not just going to be a centralized Oracle and, you know, have this central choke point. It just didn't really fit with the ethos of what we were trying to build. So we kind of did a little deep dive internally and tried to figure out how we could make a decentralized Oracle. And yeah, so we started building that in 2018, and then launched the first Tellor on mainnet Ethereum in 2019. And then we've just kind of been growing and expanding the Oracle network ever since. And we're super happy that over the past 6 months, we've been able to be building on Kadena and come over there.
Awesome. So for everyone listening who may not know what an Oracle is or how it works, can you maybe just give a brief description of that?
Yeah. So, you know, like I think the example I had given, you know, just if you have, it's how do blockchains or smart contracts more specifically get access to outside information. You know, you can think of the most simple Oracle is like, well, you can just trust somebody. So, you know, Doug over at Kadena, we all trust him. Maybe we could just make him our Oracle, and he can go look at the price of Bitcoin on Coinbase, and he can throw it into our smart contract. Well, the problem there is, well, what if one of us bribes Doug, or what if he dies? There could be issues around that. So, you know, the next thing is, you know, you see some people have moved beyond just trusting the single person onto what we call multi-sig oracles. So, you know, a lot of the space just relies on you have a multi-sig group of people who they all sign the message, hey, you know, the price of Bitcoin is $20,000, and then they put it on chain. And this can sort of work, but it's still not quite a decentralized Oracle. The way that we solve this problem here at Tellor, so we use a staking system. So anyone can come, it's completely open, and you take the Tellor token, which is TRB, and you stake it into our smart contract. You are then able to be what's called a reporter. So once you have a bunch of reporters there, then a user of the smart contract, say a derivatives platform, let's say they want the price of Bitcoin, they would tip or say, hey, I'll pay some small amount of money, say, $1 for the example, to whoever puts the price of Bitcoin on chain. So now all of those staked reporters will basically race to go grab the price of Bitcoin from Coinbase and put it on chain. Once it's on chain, it's sort of this optimistic approach. So if it's a bad value, so if, let's say, the person who threw the price of Bitcoin on chain, if he said, hey, the price of Bitcoin is $20 million, what would happen is he would quickly get disputed. So all of the other reporters or the users would say, hey, it's not $20 million, and they would raise a flag. The value would get pulled off chain, and it would go to a vote as to whether or not he loses his stake. If it's a good value, however, the user would likely just wait 5-10 minutes. They would be able to read that value, assume since it didn't get disputed, it's likely good, and then they're off and they can settle their smart contracts. So that's how Tellor works in a nutshell. It's a relatively simple crypto economic oracle, but it's kind of how you can get at any outside information on chain in a completely trustless way.
Now, when you say any outside information, you're mostly been talking about like the price of cryptos and things like that. But could oracles be used for any other kinds of information? For example, if there was like a sports betting platform on blockchain, could someone use that for sports information, oracle, things like that?
Completely, yeah. So right now, most oracles out there, the main thing you see them being used for is the prices of other cryptocurrencies from centralized exchanges. But there's no reason that any oracle information has to be limited to prices. As you were saying, sports betting. You could ask the Tellor oracle, who won, the Lakers game last night or something like that, and we could bring back the score. You could bring back an over/under price. It would just, basically the sky's the limit, as long as. So the only caveat as far as what data you can bring on is it has to be sort of able to be known by everyone. So, since once you put it on chain, everyone has to be able to verify it. You wouldn't want something very esoteric that not a whole lot of people know about. So if the question, for instance, was like, who won the arm wrestling match at my house last night? Like, yes, that's outside information, but nobody else can verify it. So you probably couldn't do that one. So you would want to probably stick to, larger sports scores. Other things, as the title sort of shows here, in the Twitter spaces, bridges are also just oracles. So, if you're Kadena, you actually can't read information from Ethereum or from Bitcoin. So if you wanted to query information about those other chains, you could use Tellor or some other oracle to do so.
Now, speaking of some other oracles, there are other ones. For example, like Chainlink is another example that people may know of an oracle out there. What about any thoughts of Tellor becoming kind of a decentralized oracle agitator and pulling information from not just your own oracles, but from multiple ones into one spot? Is that something that could be thought of and used in the future to bring even more accuracy and to prices or whatever kind of information wants to be presented?
Sure. I mean, you could. And I think you mean aggregator, not necessarily agitator.
Yes, aggregator.
We can go agitate all the other oracles. I'm sure we do. But not so oracle aggregation. It's a super interesting topic, actually. Because it actually gets into like what price do you actually want on chain, because it's actually not a very straightforward question. You would assume like, oh, this is really easy, but like back whenever we were making our derivatives protocol, and even talking with a lot of other derivatives protocols and DeFi platforms now, what the exact price is not necessarily always clear. So for instance, if you want the price of Bitcoin, you could say, I want the price of Bitcoin from Coinbase, every on the 00 seconds of every minute. And you would be able to verify that very, very easily, because, anybody could go and check. The problem, of course, with that would be, well, okay, so now everybody can verify it, but if Coinbase shuts down, you're kind of out of luck. basically you might as well just read Coinbase's API because you're completely dependent on them. So you're like, okay, well, now let's not do that. We'll have a median of Coinbase, Binance, and Kraken, and that's a little bit better. But what happens if one of those APIs goes down, and could it throw the price if you're taking an average? What happens if you want to replace one of those APIs with a new exchange that comes out and is bigger and better? Is there some sort of governance process involved? Does this make it less decentralized? And it actually gets really, really difficult to kind of standardize what a specific price is. Something that Tellor does for a lot of protocols is we actually have more of like an ambiguous price source. So you could just ask it, what's a valid price of Bitcoin? And although it's not 100% clear, because where you're supposed to get it from, whether it's a median of 10 different exchanges or just grabbing the Coinbase price. So, there's probably a 1% to 2% wiggle room in that price, just because there's a 1% wiggle room in the Bitcoin price across multiple exchanges. But that way it's not sort of set with a really hard definition to where somebody trying to attack your protocol would know exactly which exchange to go throw or do a flash loan on. So yeah, like as far as like the price sources go, it's definitely more of a question for the specific DeFi protocol that what price source they want. As far as bringing on other oracles information, we could definitely relay Chainlink information or any. You can aggregate other sources of information like that for sure. But like I said, it would be more of a question about whether you would actually want to.
Yeah, price can be iffy because, like you said, there is people seem to think that there's a set price for Bitcoin at any given time, but there's not, because any exchange that Bitcoin's on can literally pretty much set their own prices for how they're transacting on Bitcoin that day, that minute, that hour, whatever. So really, like I think one of the best examples of an aggregator for pricing would probably be one that most people are familiar with in crypto, and that's CoinMarketCap, where what they're basically doing is taking all the prices from all the different exchanges that they follow and just doing an average across all of the different prices. So that's kind of in a way that you could almost say that CoinMarketCap is kind of an oracle in a sense, but more using an API. As opposed to an on-chain thing that can be tracked and actually, has a system behind it of validators and all of that kind of stuff. So I kind of feel like that's a good way to explain the differences between an oracle and just a price aggregator like CoinMarketCap. Would that be kind of a correct way to put it?
Sure. Yeah, no. We usually, most of the time, the reporters for Tellor or even Chainlink, they'll just usually grab prices either directly from the exchanges or grab it from a source such as CoinMarketCap or CoinGecko. But you have to be careful with those, because there's CoinMarketCap, for those that don't know, it's owned by Binance. So you gotta be careful what you're doing there.
Of course, they'll favor themselves before favoring anything else, of course.
Exactly. Which price are you waiting there?
Yeah, for sure. So on the kind of topic of APIs and stuff like that, what do you feel is the benefits when it comes to either using an API from like CoinGecko or something like that for your pricing versus using an oracle like you guys are producing to pull your prices when someone's building a dApp or anything like that? What do you see is the benefits to yours and the security behind it?
So the big difference is if you're in a smart contract, you can't read an API, and that's why you would need an oracle. So like if you're like a great example would be like a stable coin. If you're building a stable coin on the Kadena ecosystem, you could lock up the Kadena token and then mint yourself this stable coin based upon the Kadena US dollar rate. So you would just need the Kadena US dollar rate in there. And the problem with that, however, is you can't just go read the CoinGecko or the CoinMarketCap API and grab that. Even if you wanted those prices, you actually need an oracle like Tellor if you want to claim any sort of decentralization. Obviously, the developers of the stablecoin could throw it on chain for you, but you wouldn't want to just hand over the trust to them. If you want it open, if you want it secure in a way that's you're claiming this to be decentralized, then you do need one of these oracles, and that's whenever you would reach out to us and we could help you design the system.
Plus, you also have the fact that using an API, you're depending on one centralized entity, which we've seen can be a big problem. For example, AWS, people using AWS, and AWS goes down and half the freaking internet is all of a sudden shut off. So like that, obviously, it shows how, taking away the centralization aspect of using APIs and using something in a more decentralized manner, like an Oracle through Tellor, is way more beneficial in the overall to a project, to a dApp, or to any kind of person looking to get solid information. Now, when it comes to solid information, as you said, people that are putting information onto your Oracle have to stake their Tellor tokens to have access to be able to do that. So what kind of things are in place for people to stop them from making fake reports or people trying to like game the system in a sense? Is there anything to really stop that from happening besides just them having a monetary value that they're going to lose by doing so?
Yeah, no, that's literally it. Like you try and make it, the terms crypto economically secure. It's just it makes sense that if you're going to attack this system, you're going to lose money. It's how you build these systems. Whether you're building Kadena itself or Ethereum or Tellor. You can, if it's decentralized, there is no sort of ability for you to say, hey, you're not allowed to participate, we don't trust you. It's just anybody's allowed to participate, but you just try and think through all of the attack vectors and say, listen, if you're going to attack this, hey, by all means go for it, but the way that we've set it up is you're going to lose money whenever you do it. So like in the same way with the Tellor system, whenever you stake your tokens, you could come on and just report that the price of Bitcoin is $20 million, and try and wreck some DeFi protocol that does it. But the problem is that you're quickly going to get disputed. You're going to lose your stake, and you probably, if the DeFi protocol set itself up correctly, you're not going to be able to make any money off of it. So that's kind of how we think about it, at least.
Yeah, it's kind of along the same lines of people thinking of like 51% attacking a blockchain, where you have to either own a whole whack of expensive mining equipment or be able to rent the hash power needed to do so, which isn't usually feasible for some of the bigger chains, like especially like a Bitcoin or something like that. Like you're going to be spending way more money to be able to do that as opposed to what you would reap in rewards. So like you said, when people are putting this information onto an Oracle, they're putting their money up saying that this information is correct. And if it's not correct and they're just trying to find a way to game the system, they're going to very quickly be shot down and lose that money that they put in. And it's just not economically feasible and just makes no sense for everyone to try to do that. Have you seen really any instances of that happening that were very obvious, like that's definitely what this person's trying to do, and it got shut down like really quickly?
We haven't seen too many attacks on Tellor, knock on wood. The big thing that we have seen a lot is you'll see a lot of sometimes errors. So as you can imagine with the reporting on Tellor, so if there's a tip for $1, basically everyone's racing to submit the price as fast as they possibly can. So what happens is a lot of times these guys will write their own custom software for doing this to try and speed it up. And say like an API goes down or something like that, you'll see everyone, especially early on in the Tellor system, you would see sometimes somebody would accidentally submit like the price is 0 or 404 error on their the price of Bitcoin, and then it would quickly get disputed and taken off, and the person would lose money, unfortunately. But yeah, those are some of the ones that we've definitely seen for sure.
Yeah, there's always people out there that are trying to find a way to make that quick buck, or even just in some cases just screw people over because they're bitter people that just have nothing better to do with their lives, I guess. So I don't know. There seems to be lots of people out there, but so like you said earlier, you guys have been building now for a few months on Kadena. What was it that led you to Kadena? Did they reach out to you, or did you reach out to them? Maybe a little history on how Tellor became involved with Kadena, because you guys have been around for a few years now and have worked with multiple different chains. What was the draw for Kadena?
For sure. I think we had ran into you guys. This is probably a better question for some of my coworkers, but I know we had ran into you guys at a conference last year, some of your founders, but we actually had an interesting history with Kadena. Just um, right whenever we launched Tellor in 2019, we had a proof of work component to the Oracle. So in addition to needing to be staked and then also submitting the value, we required you to solve a proof of work calculation as well. And some of the early miners and early software, FPGA software that people were building to mine Tellor was also used to mine Kadena. So it was, there was this sort of crossover amongst early community members, and we had always kind of kept in touch. And then it was interesting once you guys were starting to launch some of the smart contract platform, and we're actually ready looking for oracles. Yeah, we had kind of connected with you guys last year. The ethos had definitely fit. We've been pushing ourselves as the actually decentralized oracle now for years, and so finding people that really understand that and really sort of have a similar view on what it means to be decentralized and how to get there. So no, it was a really natural fit, and we're happy that it sort of worked out.
Now, Kadena has been working a lot and been speaking a lot about how they are trying to introduce ZK rollups and using ZK protocols in conjunction with some of their other backend stuff that they're doing. How do you see any kind of way of ZKs being used in conjunction along with oracles with Tellor, maybe just to provide even more security to the system?
Yeah, for sure. I think some of the harder pieces about doing things on these rollups is just how do you have any sort of data availability? How do you trust a lot of these sequencers? And these are things that Vitalik has been throwing this idea around for the last, I don't know, how long has he been at it now? 10 years, 5 years at least is probably using oracles as like data availability proofs, or show that these parties and these sequencers are being honest, and this would be something we'd love to explore with you guys as you go down that rabbit hole. We've been in touch with other ZK rollups as well. Just being an oracle there, for the most part, it's relatively the same as being on any other chain, but it's super cool once you get a whole lot of speed going on some of these things. You can definitely do a whole lot more with oracles, and even just connecting the other chains, there's just much more of a need for it, since you can move much faster and do much more.
Yeah, that kind of leads me into another question of the use of Oracle technology kind of in conjunction with some of the other advanced features that Kadena offers, such as its 20-chain chain web and its Pax smart contracts. How do you see that really coming together to form something really new and something that's very beneficial to the entire Kadena ecosystem?
No, I mean, I think the beauty of Tellor too is that you're going to be able to talk to a lot of these other chains. So like, I know Kadena has in a lot of ways been kind of isolated from a lot of the DeFi or NFT activity that's happening over on Ethereum, over on Polygon, over on Binance chain. But like, once you get a solid oracle over there, now bridging these assets over to Kadena because that's where security is, or bridging these assets over to Kadena because that's where you have some cool app built and you want to lock it up as collateral in one of these DeFi projects. now all of a sudden it opens up a whole lot more. So, that's what we're hoping to do for you guys. It's how can we, leverage what you guys are trying to build, and sort of connect it to the world, bring real world assets onto Kadena, bring, all of these assets that are over on these expensive, more centralized chains, bridge them over to Kadena where you can do some cool things.
Yeah, that's one thing that definitely people have been really wanting to see on Kadena, and one of the biggest ones for bridging, I believe, would be a stable coin, because you need to have a very decent bridge to be able to bring these stable coins onto Kadena. For example, for a while there, we had Kadena version of USDC, things like that. So in the future, with you guys being on board now as a Kadena grantee and building these oracles and things like that, what do you see being the start of stable coins? What would you like to see come first, be developed harshly and very I guess aggressively, to bring these things to light and bring them to fruition, while still navigating things like, for example, if you were bridging over from Ethereum to Kadena, how that would work in respect to like the fee differences between the two, because obviously, you're looking at super high fees on Ethereum versus the super low fees on Kadena, and how all of this kind of ties together through an oracle.
I mean, the fees you usually have to pay. So, like, if it's just information you're bringing over, you would just pay for that on sort of the requesting chain. So it would be Kadena on this example. But obviously, if you're doing some sort of activity on Ethereum, there's not a way around it. But onto the stablecoin question. I think what I'd love to see. So, like, we're one of the oracles for Liquidity as well as Reflexer, which are two of the. They're probably the two really decentralized ones over on Ethereum. I would love to see somebody fork those, go put them over on Kadena. Would probably be, if there's any devs listening and need a cool idea, happy to point you in the right direction there. You could get a good stablecoin design where you could pick, some Kadena native collateral and start locking it up and make a cool stablecoin. And then, you can do that once you have an oracle, because you actually have some price feeds. So yeah, I think that would just be the start of how do you get some of these, decentralized or decentralized stable coins over there. Because, like as much as bridging USDT or USDC over is cool, no one, at least nobody who claims to like decentralization should really want to use those. The ideal stable coin for any ecosystem is a stable coin that sort of is collateralized by the native assets of that ecosystem and sort of has the values of that ecosystem inside of it. Just, it works much better that way.
Yeah, I think the whole USDC and all of those like US or fiat-based stable coins were really just kind of a way to bridge that gap between the old legacy financial system and the new Web3 blockchain financial system, so that people still had that tie to, like, I guess you could kind of say real world money, even though crypto is much more real than any fiat system really out there is. But I totally agree with you that they should be pegging them to other cryptos. Like I would love to see a Bitcoin stablecoin where it's backed by a Bitcoin or something like that. There's lots of other things, or like you even said, one that's backed by Kadena, because I believe that I don't want to sound like one of those tinfoil conspiracy theorist people out there, but I think we're starting to see the end and collapse of the US fiat system as more countries are kind of starting to move away from the US dollar, things like that. The economy is starting to kind of show major cracks with, every seems like every week or so another bank is starting to go down, things like that. So really, this is a very good chance for that flip from stable coins being fiat based to being crypto based. What do you think about that? Do you think that that would be, do you see that as the future of where things are going when it comes to crypto? Or do you think that possibly, we're going to be fighting to the last tooth and nail to break away from the old school legacy fiat system?
No, I mean, I think some of our stablecoin designs sort of have necessitated USDC and USDT in a lot of ways. Like right now, if you look at like even the original stablecoin, which was DAI, and then um, Liquidity or Rye or any of these, the problem is that you have to over collateralize them, and you need somebody to take the long side. So it gets very, very, it's like this weird dynamic to where you have to lock up a whole bunch of collateral that you basically don't get any interest on in order to mint a stable coin. And that's really hard versus USDC, where you just lock up $1 to get $1, and then usually the person locking up that dollar is Circle, who can then also take those dollars and get yield on them. So it's like it's really hard to compete with that. Like I think you're starting to see some people who are locking up whether it's staked ether or something that's actually yield generating underneath a stable coin, because then you're sort of not losing money by creating a stable coin. So like I think decentralization has paid a really big premium in that sense, and just better stablecoin designs in the future that can kind of reduce the amount of collateral that you have to push will make decentralized stablecoins able to compete, besides just on a philosophical moral basis, with some of the centralized stablecoins. And yeah, I mean, on the whole US dollar fiasco bits, I think whether or not I'm as bullish or less bullish on the economy, I think the bigger piece too is just, I think what you're going to start seeing, and this is something that we're working on creating here at Tellor, is how do you have inflation indexes that aren't tied to the dollar? So like right now you could, like right now everyone is basically, you have a stable coin and you peg it to the US dollar, and what that's doing is that's pegging it to a specific piece of value. There's nothing to say that you would have to peg the price of your stablecoin to $1, though. You could peg it to a basket of goods, similar to like the CPI, or a CPI that's not necessarily run by the U.S. government. And if you did this, then you would actually have you could take the U.S. dollar piece, or the Fed's control over the price of an asset out of the equation, and your stablecoin could sort of be independent. And I think that's where you're going to see stable coins probably over the next few years move. It's like, well, how can you have a globally distributed stable coin? How can you have something that isn't sort of US dollar centric?
Kind of along the same lines, being that you guys have been in the game for a while and know your ways around decentralized finance, I would like to hear what your thoughts are on these CBDCs coming out and these centralized digital versions pretty much of fiat. What do you think? Do you see those going to be even viable, or even like something that like it's kind of inevitable and that's just going to be the next kind of iteration? And how do you see blockchain and actual crypto going against that grain?
Yeah, I mean, I can be like, so there's probably a few paths. There's like the optimistic path, or there's like the what they're probably going to do, and is there a path for crypto forward? Like ultimately, like for me, like and what I try and tell people, like CBDC doesn't necessarily have to be a bad thing. It probably will be, because the government usually sucks at these things, but it doesn't, since it's not out, we can be optimistic, and it doesn't have to be a bad thing. Like they could say like, hey, we're going to make a CBDC, but it's going to be cash like. You're going to, we're going to run a ledger, but you sign zero knowledge proofs to transfer it. We don't track any of your data, and you're allowed to use it as you see fit. You can build smart contracts around it, do whatever you want with it. like they could theoretically do that, right? To where it's a private bearer assets that people can trade around, and it's an actual digital cash. But like, and I think that's what we should still push for. I think there's, like Rohan Gray and some of the people on the, like the MMT side are pushing for some things like that. Like you could have digital private cash, and that would be the worst case scenario for cryptocurrencies. Because, like, if the Fed was like, yeah, you have a perfectly private system, and you can do smart contracts on it, well, let's just do that. Like, that's great. But what's likely going to happen is, they'll have a bunch of surveillance controls in it. They'll have, you have to go through a registered bank or something like that to set up your account. And along those lines, it'll be very, very similar to sort of, I think, what we have now. I don't think it's going to be, most I guess currencies and stuff like that is pretty digital as is. It'll probably just change how things work on the back end. So I'm not too necessarily worried about it. I think some people might say, like, oh, well, it'll reduce the need for crypto, or they'll ban crypto because of this. And like, I think it's still going to be so different, just because crypto now, it's, like, what is crypto? And it's not that, like, very, very few people, I would say, actually use crypto as like a currency. I want to see more people use it as a currency, but we're not necessarily doing that. What we're using crypto as they're these sort of pseudo social networks, and small little financial networks, and then you bootstrap them with some sort of governance token, governance or utility token that's sort of equity like in a way, but it has some currency features as well, and it all kind of sort of blends. But just kind of the ability to use smart contracts, and to have these things sort of build together and build these financial ecosystems that we're playing around with. I don't see them even going near any of that. And yeah, I don't think they want to. So
Well, I like your optimistic view of things where the government goes the more decentralized route and using blockchain technology pretty much as it should be and as it was originally perceived to be. But like you said, that's not really how governments like to operate, because that involves giving up a certain amount of control over something that they've controlled forever, right? So, it's definitely going to be something interesting to follow, and hopefully we get some right people in the right places that have the power to push through legislation and push through things to push it down the correct path, and not something that can be used against the people, as opposed to something that can be used by the people and for the people. So yeah, it's definitely something that people should be conscious of and be aware of and follow along. But at the same time, their crypto is not going away. There's no way anyone's going to be turning off Bitcoin or turning off any of these fully decentralized systems out there without just straight up turning off the internet. Is pretty much the only way you'd be able to kill these things at this point. So like the cat's out of the bag. It's just a matter now of how is it, are you going to train it to be an indoor cat, or are you going to let it stay the wild cat that it should be? Is kind of the way I look at it when it comes to which way things are going to go in a larger financial system situation. So, but like I said, I really like your optimistic path, and I'm really like fingers crossed that that's the way it goes, and that's what I'd love to see. And yeah, like you said, crypto is not being used in a financial way right now. It's more of a hedge asset, something that you just really invest in. Not too many people, like I myself have bought lots of things for crypto. I've used my crypto to buy things. There's companies out there that offer crypto credit cards where you can put your crypto into their service and use it at stores and blah, blah, blah. But still not really the way that it needs to be used in a decentralized manner. But, we're getting there slowly and surely. As long as we stay on the correct path and keep working all together, hopefully in the future we'll see something really awesome come out of it. And at that point, oracles will play a really large part, I believe, in that system, because you're going to need someone to be able to be a trusted source of the information in a decentralized manner, and also someone that can bridge together all of the different interoperabilities of all these different chains and all these different protocols that are out there. So it's very interesting to see where things are going to be going. Now, as far as Oracle development on Kadena, what kind of development milestones are you looking forward to most with building on Kadena? I know we've already touched on a few, but what kind of things do you see specifically in the next coming couple of years, probably, that are going to just bring Kadena to that next level, maybe even on a level with an Ethereum or any of the larger players in the scene?
Yeah, so I think the big thing I'm looking forward to with Kadena is just as you guys as Kadena evolves and moves from sort of more singular smart contract chains into more of just, let's say there's tons of rollups that are linked onto one or two chains. It's just, how do we develop an oracle that can sort of handle that level of volume? How do we develop an oracle that you can basically leverage the same it's not too expensive in terms of collateral. It's not too expensive in terms of slowing any of these projects down, and just being able to sort of serve all of the various needs that we're expecting to come from it. And it's definitely going to be a challenge, but yeah, hopefully we can get it going, and we'll probably need your guys' help along the way.
Oh, for sure. There's definitely going to be lots of cooperation, I believe, between the Kadena team and the Tellor team, and us here at Kadena Ecosystem, and even us at Eucalyptus Labs. We're more than happy to help in any way that we can as well, because what benefits one benefits all when it comes to developing in a blockchain and in a community. So the more people that comes on, and the more high-end exclusive technologies like Teller's bringing to the plate here, the better, because it's just going to get us all ready. Because I believe that we're starting to hit the bottom of this bear market, I believe, even though we're seeing a lot of regulators and stuff step in, and SEC starting to become a lot more active and starting to catch up. But a lot of people see that as a bad thing that's going to push crypto down even farther. But I believe it's going to have an opposite effect, where it's actually going to push out some of the bad actors in the space, and make crypto have a little bit more legitimacy in the space and in the financial world. And just the more that we can be prepared now for when that does eventually happen, the better off everyone's going to be, from Kadena to Tellor themselves. So it's really just a matter right now of seeing which way the tide goes, and just keep our heads down and keep building for that potential future where blockchain and Kadena and oracles and Tellor are just an everyday part of life. And like I said, the future is going to be, if blockchain becomes the next step in our financial future of the world, it's going to be almost kind of in the same sense of the internet, how it's used in the background and people aren't really aware of it anymore, and it just becomes just another app that you're using, or another website that you're browsing on, and things like that. And it's building those tools now that will make that future become present and more prevalent and available to everyone across the globe.
Couldn't have said it better. No. Yeah, I mean, I think the big thing that as far as how we can collaborate to anybody listening, if you guys know of projects that are looking for oracles or building smart contracts on top of Kadena, reach out. We'd love to talk to them, find out what they need, what data we should be pushing, teach them how to connect. And definitely the other piece too is we need people to report. So, if you're interested, if you're kind of a software DevOps type guy and you want to run a reporter over there, you can pick up some Tellor tokens and you can start reporting data for people. So that's definitely what we're looking for over the next few months.
Now, what do you see as far as dApps utilizing oracles? What are the top ones that you see, like DEXs, for example, would be a good use case? What other kind of use cases do you see that projects that are currently building on Kadena would be able to utilize the services that you guys provide?
Yeah, I mean, stable coins, lending platforms, synthetics, derivatives. Those are the big ones. So, if it has DeFi in it, it probably has an oracle. The most dexes don't, unless you're some sort of, if it's a leverage dex, it can. But just a straight up dex wouldn't. But yeah, most DeFi projects will use some sort of oracle for something. So, if that's you guys, they know, the projects themselves know. So definitely was important.
Now, is there any way that an oracle could be used in any kind of way for NFTs, being that NFTs are slowly starting to become even more prevalent in the Kadena ecosystem and obviously in other bigger ecosystems? What kind of ways could a project that does NFTs utilize an oracle?
Yeah, I mean, so I think we had already mentioned bridging them from other chains, but the other piece too, it's just you can actually have NFTs that have properties in them that change. So, we've built these kind of more for fun, but we're talking to other projects about it. You could have an NFT of a sports player, so you could have like a sports card, and then you could have an oracle that goes and grabs his stats after every game and updates it on chain. So then your NFT changes over time, or you could have a picture that evolves over time based upon some outside information. Similar other ideas that some people have had, like you could have, like, if you had like a decentralized Zillow, for instance, where you had an NFT of your house, and then like you could have an oracle bring data on from the pricing data from actual Zillow, or information about the house that as it changes. These are all ideas that you could use oracles for, just bringing real world data and putting it actually into an NFT.
Well, that really can open up the field to lots of different ways. I love the whole idea, like you just said, of, because that's, as soon as I first started looking into NFTs, I was like, well, there goes Topps and all of these sports cards and stuff. Because really, like, how great would it be to have collectible sports cards or something in NFT format that actually update with the live information after each game, like, as opposed to only having your yearly information of it after the cards are put out every year. You just buy one and it continuously updates. So that sounds like something that if anyone listening to this and wants to build an NFT platform on Kadena, because good thing about Pact is that, and Marmalade standard is that you can upgrade and change the metadata for NFTs. So that's definitely something that's fully possible on Kadena right now. So yeah, that's a use case that I think some people should definitely jump on and build. If I had some more technical skills or the time to learn them, I was like, geez, I should just do that myself. I could make some real bank doing that. But yeah, no, that's very awesome.
Token sale
So many ways. Yes, exactly. ICO coming soon.
Right.
But no, that's great. I think we've covered a lot of the bases of what you guys are bringing to the table and things that people can do. I don't know if there's anyone listening that may have a question or so. They could feel free to send in a request to speak, or if any of your other team members that are listening feel like we've missed anything and they want to say anything, they're more than welcome to come up. But I want to thank you definitely, Nicholas, for joining us today and telling us all about Tellor. We're very excited in the Kadena ecosystem to have such a great player in the whole blockchain sphere like Tellor, that's been around and has this great experience on multiple networks and multiple platforms to just bring all of that into Kadena and build some really cool really cool tools that a lot of people, I think, are going to be able to utilize for a lot of good. So thank you very much for coming and just being with us again today.
Yeah, awesome to be here, and glad it worked out this time.
Yeah, I'm all home at my office now, so nice and steady here. So good things. So we'll definitely though have to come back and do this again once things get a little farther. Maybe once a couple really cool bridges or oracles get set up, or if you guys have anything new that you're working on and you guys want to have a little help with promoting. Definitely feel free to reach out to us here at Kadena Ecosystem. We'd love to definitely work with you guys some more and bring even more attention to Tellor. And like I said, we did add Tellor to our Kadena Ecosystem website. So it would be kadenaecosystem.com/explore/Tellor. If anyone wants to go check out the link, you can check it there, or just go to our website, hit explore, scroll down to Tellor. You'll see it there. But I'll definitely be sending out, I'll probably put out a tweet when I'm done this AMA today as well, so that we can spread that around as well. But again, thank you very much for joining us today. It's been an absolute pleasure talking to you.
Awesome. Yeah, thank you. Talk to you guys soon.
Thanks. Well, thank you very much, everyone, for listening. Make sure you guys go give Tellor a follow. Also, you can join their Discord, chat with them in there, and get involved, become a validator, get some more information onto the chain, and get out there and get working. So thank you very much, everyone, for joining us, and have a great day.
That wraps up another amazing AMA. Thank you for listening. Here at KPN, we strive to bring an open platform for projects being built on Kadena to present themselves to the community. Please ensure to do your own research on each project before investing. Also ensure to follow us on all our social media, from Twitter to subscribing to our weekly newsletter, to ensure to keep up to date on everything KDA related. You can find all the links in the description below. Take care.